Let's go back to 1918, a little over 100 years ago. Times were different back then in a lot of ways. Working conditions for men were generally more dangerous and worse paid, women were much less likely to work in general, and social security didn't exist. It's hard to imagine why someone would want to go back to the way life was like back then. Among all the differences, the world was experiencing the deadliest flu to ever exist, and what people are calling the deadliest pandemic in modern history, the Spanish flu. What was first detected in the spring of 1918, it took until the summer of 1919 to resolve it. Within that year, the Spanish flu infected 500 million people around the world, which at the time was 1/3 of the world's population, and it was estimated that at least 50 million people died from the virus. The flu, or influenza, is a virus that attacks the respiratory system. The virus that causes the flu is usually very contagious, and strains of it float around every year. Whenever someone coughs, sneezes, or touches somebody, they risk spreading the virus to someone else. While they may seem similar, a pandemic flu like the Spanish flu is different from a regular flu. A pandemic flu is basically a global outbreak of a new flu virus that is very different from any current strain. While they may spread the same way, a pandemic flu usually spreads much easier than a typical flu because there's very few people that have immunity to it. But how did the Spanish flu even start in the first place, and what made it so deadly? It's not known exactly where the strain of the flu that caused the pandemic actually came from, but we do know that it was first observed in Europe, America, and areas of Asia. Now that might come at a surprise. I mean, if it didn't originate in Spain, why do we call it the Spanish flu? Well, it didn't start there, but Spain was hit hard by the disease, and most of the European countries at the time were subject to wartime news blackouts. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, we were also in the middle of World War I. Most of the countries at the time would block out any bad news to increase morale, but Spain made their cases of the flu known to the world, leading to the name the Spanish flu. Many people believe that being in a war was a major contributor to the rapid spread of the virus. Infected soldiers spread the disease to other camps across the country and spread it overseas. Soldiers were increasing the spread of the virus exponentially. Quarantine? Psh, we got a war to win, are you kidding me? On top of all the differences we already mentioned, back in 1918, there was no such thing as the influenza vaccine. It wasn't until 1940 when the first flu vaccine appeared in America. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh, what's the big deal? I never get a flu shot anyway. But you might have a different opinion if you were to actually get the flu. Without a vaccine, there weren't that many options to prevent people from getting the virus. It's pretty similar to what we're seeing with the coronavirus at the time of this video. People were ordered to wear masks, avoid shaking hands, and communities were being quarantined. But some responses were a little late. The city of Philadelphia thought it was a good idea to have a parade attended by tens of thousands of people in the middle of the outbreak. Within just 10 days, over 200,000 Philadelphians were sick, with 1,000 already dead. As we said before, we didn't have a flu shot at the time, but we didn't have antibiotics either. But how would that make a difference here? The Spanish flu was caused by a virus, and antibiotics only fight off bacteria. While that's true, when you get sick, it's easier for your body to develop other infections, also called secondary infections. While your body is busy fighting off the first infection, other germs can sneak their way in, and that's exactly what happened with the Spanish flu. It's estimated that 95% of the people that died from the Spanish flu actually died from secondary bacterial infections. Luckily, times are different now, but even with all of our advances, many of these issues are still a major concern today, and we're seeing many of the same issues with the coronavirus pandemic. What are your thoughts on the Spanish flu, and how do you think it compares to the coronavirus? Let us know in the comment section below. As always, thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our new tips every week.